All right, I'd like to call to order the January 31st, 2018 special meeting of the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. Thank you for your patience. We have a couple important items on the agenda today, and we want to make sure we had all our T's crossed and I's dotted. So at this point, I'd like to open up public comment. If anybody's here for public comment, please raise your hand. Mrs. Hennessy.
Good afternoon, Carol Hennessy, 258 East 12 Mile Road, Royal Oak. We're almost at St. Patrick's Day time, so I'm here to talk about St. Patrick's Day. It's March 10th. It's going to be in downtown Royal Oak, down Washington. And we'd like to invite everybody, but I would like to introduce Sean Dare. He is going to be the new chairman of the St. Patrick's Day Parade for the AOH. I don't know if all of you know, but Steve Zanetti retired and went to Bay City. So we've got somebody new, and I see a lot of good things. And Sean, I've been to a couple meetings now with them, and they're going to keep me for a while. So I'm excited for them, and I know this is the time that we always come to ask for some money, and one of our people that we were going to get money from the races, they're not giving us the money like we used to get, and so we're kind of low, so I guess we're asking for a little bit more money this year. If you could do it, $3,000 or $4,000 would be great, but, you know, I know you guys all have a budget, but anything you can do for us. I know you usually have $2,000 in the budget for us, but if there's anything more you can do for us, we'd be happy to get that. And with that, I'll let Sean talk about the parade.
Thank you. Well, as Carol said, the parade this year is going to be March 10th. It's going to be at 10 a.m., a little bit earlier than has been in the past, from the middle school down Washington to 7th Street. As taking over for Steve Zanetti, we're going to have him be our Grand Marshal this year. And for honorary Grand Marshal, we'd like to extend it to you in the DDA, you and your families. If you'd like to march with your families, that would be great, with your banner. You guys have been great supporting us in the past, and we appreciate all that you do for us. So we look forward to having a great parade, family-friendly event, Saturday, March 10th at 10 a.m.
Okay, a couple things.
Sure.
10 a.m., which is a
Yep.
new starting time.
Yep.
Everyone should know that, right? Because it used to start 11:30, correct? And then as far as the request for additional money, could you guys do it like in an email, like a little bit more formal? Copy Mr. Twing
Sure.
and, you know, put a little bit of background with it?
Yeah, no problem at all.
And a budget.
Yeah, budget, yeah.
Okay.
With your budget would be good.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Has Judy Davids contacted you?
I don't believe so.
From
the DDA?
Yeah,
I-
well, no, from the city, but we've got something that we'd like to do that would also be a fundraiser for you.
Okay, great. I'll definitely, if you'd like, I can contact her.
I'd appreciate that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Anybody else here for public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and move us on to item number 3, the Dykema invoice, which probably needs to be revised now. I think we just need to give Mr. Murphy authorization to pay this invoice, so.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Director Riley,
I'll second that.
second by Director Krieger. Any discussion on this invoice? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item number 4, the DDA financing contract, the Series 2018 LTGO bonds.
One
Oh,
second.
yes.
I'm going to recuse myself from item
Recuse.
4 and 5.
Excuse yourself. Okay, very good.
Why don't you just go home? You're coming to find out about the St. Patrick's Day parade.
Okay. Mr. Riley.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll take them one at a time. With four, the LTGO bonds, again, this is stuff that we've gone back and forth on. We presented it, I think, a lot of it to you guys last time. In a nutshell, this is our commitment, the DDA's commitment, on approximately $10.9 million. And Don will correct me if I get my numbers wrong, for site connectivity, which has to do with, utility relocation, infrastructure improvements for the areas of City Hall, the police department, and the park, okay? Excluding the developer's building in that area. This has nothing to do with that. This is solely for all the city properties and city use. Included in that is a commitment of approximately $5 million for the park. Again, and that entails the design, the park itself, the park fixtures. It'll be a bond for 25 years, $737,000 a year. In return for our commitment, the city is going to, and this has to do with both, this covers both the LTGOs and the revenue bonds. They've agreed that the parking structure at 11 Mile, which is for the new project right outside here, will be at least approximately 565 parking spots. They're going to let us have the obligation to pay for the land for the Etkin parcel. If you remember, that was appraised at $1 million. They're going to let us have the obligation to pay for half of the debt services on the South Lafayette parking structure, which we owed for, I believe, another 8 years or so. I think it was 2025, October 2025, if I'm not mistaken. And it ranged anywhere from, Mike, I think around $220,000 to $240,000 a year on that. We still obviously will maintain our obligation to pay half of the debt service on the new Center Street structure, which is, actually that is structured that way, that that's between us and the city. Again, I think that's about all. The one thing, again, that I want you guys, everybody to know is that this commitment is based solely on the city properties and has nothing to do with the developer's building and his infrastructure. Okay, so if we're working on the water and the lighting and what have you, the electrical underneath, it's for the city hall, for the police department, and the park. And that's pretty much where we're at on the LTGOs. Bob, did I miss anything on that? Am I pretty good on that?
I think that covered it.
Okay.
You mentioned the $5 million.
Yep, minimum $5 million.
Just to interrupt real quick, my apologies. I want to make everyone aware that our attorney in this matter, Bob Brown, is here and present if there's any questions. Any questions? All right. Now what? Director Sophia.
I'll move the enclosed resolution for the LTG O bonds.
I have a motion by Director Sophia.
I second.
Second by Director Johnson. Real quickly. He seconded that. Any discussion?
Just briefly, I appreciate Director Riley's summary, and I just wanted to touch on a couple points. This was a very long process. This is not something that happened overnight. We have been working on this committee's been working on this forever. And it's been sometimes difficult and sometimes very complicated, and it still is a very complicated process. One that probably, of all the projects that we've been involved with here since I've been on the DDA, which is 696 in Woodward and the new Center Street parking structure, and we've added Class A office space and more parking with the Etkin building, and we've gotten a hotel partially built now. So the scope of this project exceeds anything that we've have worked on in all of those projects so far. We've hired our own attorney, and I think our attorneys represented us very well in this matter. I believe the DDA agrees that the city hall and the police station are outdated, and something needed to be done with those. But we're not using any DD funds to get that done. Those are all through the LTG bonds. And the same goes for the parking structure. I think we're excited to get $100,000 or 100,000 square feet of office and retail in the downtown area. But again, no DD funds are being used towards that project. I think the DDA has been consistent with regards to parking. Any project that we've done in the past, we've required developers at a minimum to replace any existing parking that would be lost towards the projects. In this case, we've worked with the city, who is the developer in this, not only to replace, but to increase the parking by adding a structure, which Director Ali indicated 565 new spaces. And this is also being paid through the bond system. I think the key is that the citizens of Royal Oak overwhelmingly have come forward and expressed to us and the city commission about their desire to have a downtown park. And I think that's where the DDA comes into this matter. We've negotiated with the city, and we've come to this resolution, and I think it's a good one. The city has promised to give us, or not give us, the city has dedicated toward $5 million of those bonds to be dedicated to a downtown park. So I think it's going to be a win for us and the residents here in Royal Oak. And that's why I support this resolution.
Anybody else? Okay.
Just point out very quickly.
Sure.
Just the form of the resolution itself, everybody's been focusing on the financing agreement. So it approves the form of the financing agreement for the LTGO bonds as attached, and that actually is updated yesterday, which I think everybody received that, with some tweaks to what had been distributed on Friday, probably. Yeah. And it authorizes the executive director, Tim Thwing, to sign. He said he doesn't need a backup because he'll be back from his vacation by the time this is done. And it permits him to make, I mean, it's inevitable there may be some tweaking, but it cannot be anything inconsistent with the terms of the resolution, the form of the resolution attached. So if there were anything, basically he can't, shall we say, liberalize from the DDA's perspective the terms in the contract being approved today. But if they're technical or clerical or things that are more favorable to the DDA, then he could do that. So there's a little latitude there in terms of his authority, but it can't cut against the progress that's been made to date with the agreement. And then lastly, just that it needs to be approved by a roll call vote. Okay. And enough board members who constituting a majority of the full board. I don't know what that number is exactly. But.
Good, Director Johnson.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify one thing that Matt said, because Bree talked about where the city agreed to changes. The city administration agreed to recommend it to the city commission. The commission has not seen this yet. They will be acting on it after the DDA.
Which changes are those? But
All the things that you just went through.
oh, okay.
This has not been to the city commission yet.
Okay.
So it's just the city administration has agreed to it, not the city.
Okay. All right, well, if we don't approve it, I don't think Tim's going to come back from vacation. So, does anybody else have anything? That's okay, then I'm going to initiate the roll call vote. Director Yazbek.
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Faya?
Aye.
Director Johnson? Director Lambert? Director Bagley? Aye. I'm an aye, so the motion carries unanimously. Minus Michelle and minus Mr. Krieger. All right. On to number 5, DDA Financing Contract Series 2018 Revenue Bonds.
Yep, this one is a little easier. In this case, these are the revenue bonds which are being undertaken to build the new structure by the city. We are acting solely in this case as a guarantor of up to, I believe, Director Johnson, up to $18 million in bonds. Is that pretty much still where we're at? So basically, what we're proposing is that we will guarantee up to 50%, okay? And what we're saying in there is that we're guaranteeing 50% of the debt, which we've already, which is
50% of the short.
Shortage.
50% of the shortage, I should say. So we will not be making any of the quote-unquote debt payments, the bond payments, as we are with Center Street, as we will be with the LTGO bonds where we're making the 737. Here we come into play solely if the parking fund, which is obligated to pay the bonds, comes up short, okay? And in the event that the parking fund was short to cover the debt in a given year, we would make up 50% of that debt, okay, of the shortage, of the debt shortage, I'm sorry, of the shortage. Okay, so if the obligation for the bonds is X and the parking fund is $100,000 short, we'd be obligated to cover 50,000 of that, okay? Keep in mind, again, we've painstakingly gone through this thing. There's covenants and stuff in place that the city has to get these bonds, to get them approved, to get them insured, where everything is covered, okay, where based on the current systems. With regard to that, we've also put in there, and I apologize, but I don't know exactly how the end language is in there, where the city and the DDA agreed the parking rates will be set at rates no lower than necessary to cover these rates, and that the parking committee will be involved in this, in terms of setting the rates.
In recommending.
In
rate
recommending.
changes to the city commission.
Yep, and the way things currently stand now, everything is in compliance with regard to the debt responsibility and the parking system rates and the parking fund. Okay, and again, it's something that's gone back and forth, and I hate to say this, but I don't mean to editorialize here, but it's somewhat of a fluid situation in that, you know, you've got a situation where, you know, we've got new parking coming online, we've got this new deck coming online, we're changing meters and stuff like that. So it was very complicated to get to a space where we all had everything in place that we wanted. But I think this is where we need to be now.
Anybody else, or a motion? Director Sophia?
So that we may have a further discussion here, I'm going to move the resolution, the enclosed resolution pertaining to the 2018 revenue bonds in this matter.
I have a motion by Director Sophia.
Second.
Second by Director Baglio. Discussion.
One point that was part of the discussions was, in light of the fact that the DDA would only be called upon if there's a deficiency, we wanted to pin down as best we could where we're at right now in terms of all this additional debt that the parking fund is assuming, along with its current obligations, all its obligations, not just its bond obligations. We wanted to see where the current rates, which were just raised, if all that handled all the current obligations, the current bonds, and the bonds that we're talking about now. And I think that we received some comfort, our council received some comfort from the city staff that as we stand right now, as the parking fund stands right now, it can absorb all this additional debt along with its current system obligations. But I think and I guess this agreement does as best it can to address that question, that curiosity. I think with the city going forward and looking at this agreement, I think it's important for them to make sure that we wouldn't be in a situation where we have to immediately look at a potential rate increase to avoid any deficiencies, to absorb all this additional debt, the South Lafayette parking debt that you mentioned, the DDA's half, that's now going to be a part of the parking fund responsibility. We just wanted to make sure that the parking rates, as approved in the last couple of meetings, the increase in the parking rates is sufficient to absorb all that obligation.
Meaning the increase coming from our half of the Lafayette debt and this new deck, in this new deck.
Let me remind you that we only, this body and the city commission only acted on part of the recommendation, and the other part is coming back to you.
The meters.
Yes.
Ms. Fine.
Yeah, I wondered, Director Johnson, could you speak to the process as we're moving forward in this thing? How is there an annual audit of this? And I know you have audits on all of the.
Everything in the city
On
is
everything
audited
is
annually.
audited, but is there, like, gonna be an evaluation process, I guess, more so, as to whether the parking fund is,
With the amount of revenue bond debt and the coverage requirements, which are very specific in the revenue bonds, yeah, there will have to be some testing to prove that we've met the margin requirements, because it's not enough to just cover the debt. You gotta cover the debt plus.
right? So that'll be something that you would be monitoring?
Yes.
Okay. Is that,
And we will probably be wanting this body to be looking at rates much more frequently. And it was very comfortable to not deal with rates for a matter of, what, it was over 10 years.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be able to do that again. You're gonna have to be watching it.
okay. So do we have, we or the separate parking committee, would they have access to those evaluations?
Yes,
Okay, so that we know,
and this is the parking committee, so.
okay.
Will Director Johnson, in the terms of the compliance reporting, will that solely be based on bond obligation, long-term obligation, or will it include every obligation within the parking system? In other words, let's say that the parking system decides that they need to buy 400 more meters 6 months from now. Will that be included in that annual audit or report or compliance reporting?
Well, all expenditures of the parking system get taken into account in the,
Okay.
in the reporting.
So
of course.
all of it, whether it's a bond debt, whether it's a long-term
Bond debt or
obligation?
current expenditure, whether it's, wages for
Okay.
employees in the parking system, or payments to the contractor that actually manages the structures, it all ends up in the
Okay.
parking system financial reports.
Can I just mention a point on Rita's comment about the coverage? So to issue these bonds, the city there's something called the additional bonds test, which is baked into the 2016 parking revenue bond resolution that they negotiated with the bondholder, Huntington National Bank, I think, or Huntington Capital, that to issue these bonds or any other bonds, they have to provide a coverage certificate evidencing 125% coverage. So it's even actually, the annual requirement is 110%, so there's that cushion. But to take the step of actually going out and issuing another series of bonds that has an equal lien with the 2016 bonds, the finance department is going to have to produce, as a condition to closing, an additional bond certificate that would have calculations showing that the debt service on the 2016 plus the debt service on the 2018 will be covered to the extent of 125% by the existing rates and charges. And then on an ongoing basis, there's an annual reporting requirement that is basically consistent with the 2016s that has to be posted electronically on a national municipal disclosure system with the calculations evidencing compliance with the 110% coverage.
Is that annually?
Annually. And this provides that is to be provided to the DDA annually. And that's not to say that the DDA can't exert its own due diligence to look at the financials on the Treasury website, the audit they looked at the other day, and provided you with some excerpts showing that there are no other long-term obligations currently other than bond obligations. But that may be something you want to keep an eye on going forward.
Good information, thank you. Anybody else?
One last thing.
One last thing.
For my colleagues at the table that weren't on the committee, if you look at the second page of the resolution, I believe it's like the fourth paragraph down, it clearly explains in the resolution as to the DDA's obligation, where it states that pursuant to which the authority will support the financing of the development of the 11-mile road structure by agreeing in the event of a deficiency in net revenues of the system fund debt service on the revenue bonds comes due, to contribute the next tax increment to extent of 1/2 of the amount of such deficiency. So that is what Director Riley was trying to explain earlier as to our obligation in terms of the 11-mile road parking structure.
Anybody else? Anything? All right. Well, I will say that there's been 6-7 months of this. My hair was black when we started this process. So, if no one else says anything, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Director Yesbitt.
Aye.
Director Riley.
Yeah, aye.
Director Safaya.
Aye.
Director Johnson.
Aye.
Director London.
Aye.
Director Baglio.
Aye.
Director Dunstan says aye. Motion carries. All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Appreciate it. And Joe, you did in a half hour what Tim hasn't been able to do. Stay silent. All right. Number 6, I don't know if we're going to get to number 6 today because we kind of wanted James to be part of this, and James is.
He's unavailable. He said that the contractor is currently working on the prototype still. Once prototype's installed, then it'll be analyzed and determined if that's the direction that the board wants to move forward. And then obviously there'll be a price adjustment that would need to be voted on at that point in time as well. So once it's installed, he'll let you, Tim will let you know. Somebody will let you know, Sean.
Okay, cool. Any other business? Sean?
Has everybody seen all the signs?
Yeah.
The city hall one just now is nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Director
The parking
Krieger's
lot
back.
Well, just in time to make a motion.
Give me something to do.
Before anybody leaves,
Also the
though,
one under over here.
we got a couple, just real quick. The 24th, we're having our planning session. It's a Saturday.
Oh, what month?
February. We agreed on that. I think December we agreed on that.
Yeah.
And we even made it an hour later, so Director Yesbitt could get up and feed the chickens first.
On a Saturday, there's a planning session
Yeah.
during the day.
Morning, I think.
Morning.
Morning, crack of dawn.
Well, some of us are retail, so it's our busiest day.
You can just stay awake.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, just don't.
but what I wanted to bring up here is to the committee chairs. I would really like everyone to make sure you have a committee meeting before that and look at short-term and long-term goals for whatever your committee's tasked with. And then Sean, I'd like you to also, as kind of like a fourth committee, really a fifth committee, because I'm going to include the parking committee in this as well. But we, also would like to hear from you as well. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be, I know that, Mr. Baglio, you want to move back a week, your meeting, and I get that. As long as we can get that done and have, so when we get to our meeting on the 24th, we can be efficient and get to what we got to get to, so. Sean, did you have anything before we leave?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Mr. Johnson?
Only one thing, the police department's going to be requesting a purchase order be approved that will be replacing their handheld units used by the parking enforcement. And the new units will work much smoother with the Park Mobile app than what we have now.
Are we gonna wait until we get the report from Rich and Associates? Because weren't they looking at that as well? Because I know that was one of the questions they were asking, is what units the enforcement was using. Are they gonna be coming back with a recommendation, or is this, have they already worked with Rich on this?
They've already worked ahead on that.
Okay.
And worked with the Park Mobile people, and
Okay,
so I think they're pretty much ready to go on getting that ordered. I just wanted you to know it was coming.
okay. All right, so, it'd be good if we could maybe have the parking committee look at that first.
Before it comes here.
Yeah, before it comes here. Do you think it'll come here in February?
But it's not coming here, it's gonna go to the city commission.
Oh, okay, all right, then never mind then, okay.
I was just.
Oh, I thought you were,
presenting
I
it
thought you were asking the DDA to pay for
inform you.
this.
If you wanna pay for it, I'd be delighted, but,
That's why I wanted to go to.
no, I'm not asking the DDA to pay for it.
No, that wasn't one of the priorities on our list, though.
As the parking committee, we recommend the city pays for it.
One thing I do want to mention, just to remind everybody.
Huh?
Just to remind everybody, Thursday at the Public Library Auditorium, February 8th at 10 a.m., we're going to be having a Main Street meeting, so it's just a general district stakeholders meeting. I've invited all the business and property owners as well, so everybody's welcome to attend. So we're going to address things like district marketing and you know, a couple other issues that may be brought up from stakeholders, so.
Okay.
You repeat the date and time, please?
Thursday, February 8th at 10 a.m. at the library auditorium. And I'm going to try to hold these regularly every month. Most likely on the second Thursday of every month around 10 a.m. if that works out to be a convenient date. And then I'll be including a report of those meetings in my downtown manager's report to the DDA every month as well. So.
Very good. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for making it today. This is very important. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Moved by Director Krieger, and it's been a heck of a meeting for you. Second?
He's exhausted, I don't know what he does.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Good night.